pain or nobody's gonna survive till November. It is a long time.
Tim?
No, but I'm like, you're still working?
Take it easy on me. Are you still working? Probably about 4 years back, I spoke to this person.
Getting into the whole money.
I was gonna take one off the table.
That
was okay. Okay, yeah. All right, thanks.
Working with Big Star.
Maybe they were all here for the
program. Here
for the popcorn?
Yeah. Popcorn.
Susie homemaker, cooking. Not as hard as you though.
Pulling up our old email
Just
address.
so you have it. Okay.
I just plug it in again and see what happens.
Husbands and coach.
Yeah, as these tables getting closer, we all need to wait.
Yeah.
Also,
And I guess you wanted to make sure, but I guess your husband is always the right way to get it.
Yeah, he just,
Oh, I might take it. That's really nice minutes.
yeah, that's right now. He's probably gonna get
He did wonders.
I'm getting
He did wonders about it. Thank you.
Yeah, he loves it.
This is not.
Oh.
Nice
We not have any
Oh, okay.
if one of them shows, it'll be what they're also approximately. Don't that can wait till Mr. Dave.
I was so busy.
Do I sign you out? Just sign you out? You are.
You can use the login, but it was an experience.
Grandpa doesn't want Malia to do the candle thing, so we just want to do a donation. So we want to
The Wholesome Pet Group.
Is it P-A-T-T?
P-A-T-T.
T-T.
Yeah, thank you.
P-A-T-T.
Give it to her too.
That's a really fun discussion, but.
You presenting, Ryan?
I got strong arms. They said, we gotta go see the sun. And I said, well, I just sit in my office all day, so I don't, that's my excuse to get out and Joyce. And Darcy.
Kristen, you good? You ready?
Yes. There we go.
The puppy is just
All right, I'm trying to. Posting notes on first thing I said, talking about the adoption, approval of the outside considerations for the 18.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it. Yes. They could waste a lot of time.
Oh, you don't have to do it.
She might.
Okay.
But I got voice stuff. Anyhow, so there were lots of reasons.
A public forum.
So I let them
Yeah, it's imagining that with all of our choices for kids to do it, they're all in spring sports, and we got stuff to do. So it's usually work your way down to the vice president, the senior vice president.
No worries. You saw me.
There it is. And this is just the email exchange.
Warm in here?
Yeah.
Rhonda, how are you?
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
There's kids think he's up on the side there. Usually those
Show
are
up
first
at
at
7.
Ready? You want to join her?
He wants to go up at
I'm sitting in these chairs.
Well, they're
What's the matter with people? Oh, see? I could not let this stay in.
I have not seen. Oh, this
Good chair. Yeah, deciding where I go.
Would everybody please turn off their cell phones and try to do the same thing? Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Elliott, would you please lead us?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay, I know we have at least one person here tonight who is here to speak on a non-agenda item, and since that is the case, I just want to remind everyone, in case we have any others, that for non-agenda items, remember this is not a town hall style meeting. We're not here for discussion or debate. This is an opportunity for us, the trustees, to hear information from the public. So we open up the doors for the public to provide us with information that we need to hear and to make sure that we have time to finish all of our business and get all of this information. Public participation and comments on non-agenda items is limited to 3 minutes per person. So, at this time, are there any public participation and comments that we would like to hear? Yes, please stand up and state your name for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Cesar Hernandez, resident, and I have one daughter in 8th grade, middle school. What I'd like to talk about is school safety, and I see the superintendent's letter here. I'd just like to say that, you know, nothing stays secret forever, or everything gets out eventually, okay? And about 3 weeks ago after this, well, this incident in Florida, about 3 weeks ago I was talking with someone. I was informed that there was an incident at the middle school, and it involved a gifted student. It involved disaction and naming, and then there was an assistant principal, I guess, in charge of the situation at the time, and their attitude, from what I understand, was, you know, well, our kids go to school every day in their cars, and accidents happen, and, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, not if, but when here. I mean, it was what I perceived, that the way it was conveyed to me, I think it was a lousy attitude. Then, what I understand was that neither the teaching staff nor the other staff of the school system was informed of this by the superintendent. And then that there was, when it was reported to, you know, Polson Police, their attitude was, you know, it's not our problem. And then lastly, my concern is, you know, I understand that a student was either expelled or you know, disciplined in some way. And I just look at all this stuff and I think, man, this isn't 3 strikes. This is 5 strikes and you're out. Okay? Because one of the attitudes, the way things fall through the cracks, And then my real concern is, you know, you expel a student for an incident like this, and they go home, you know, to a broken family or whatever, and they're just going to sit there and they're going to mull this over. And it's just like fermenting beer, you know? And so, and my understanding is that, that when this happens, you know, the school does not refer for any, you know, psychological help or anything like this, because the school thinks it's going to, because the school feels that it comes out of their budget. That's my understanding. And I'm just thinking, you know, I know a decade ago when this school board was spending $60,000 a year on Attorney Kaliva for all these other kinds of things, but we don't have money to refer a student that might be in trouble, in distress, you know, to a psychologist or a counselor or something like that. And I'm just looking at this and I'm saying, this is a mess. This is exactly everything that failed down in Florida, and it's happening right here. And believe me, the most precious thing to me is that 8-year-old daughter of mine in that school, okay? I don't want to see anything happen here. And when I see stuff falling through the cracks, I'm thinking, you know something? We're our own worst enemy here. And so, I don't know, I haven't named names, I don't know names or anything like that, but, you know, when I hear stuff like this, I think it's important that you hear it from me, that I'm hearing it, and I'm concerned, okay? And I'd like to know what is the policy of the Polson School District when you have an incident like this, and I'd like it to address every one of the points that I've made.
And let me say, first of all, like I said, this is not a big debate, but I would like to say a couple of things, because first of all of your concerns are absolutely 100% valid, and I have kids in the school too, so I want you to know that I'm not just, you know, trying to shine you on or something. I send my 2 boys to the Polson School District every day, so I know what your fears are and your concerns. Obviously, we cannot, you know, for legal reasons, we cannot discuss any specific issues. I would encourage you to do a couple things. If there are things that you're hearing and you are concerned about the welfare of your child, I would absolutely encourage you to call and make an appointment with the building where your child is with that administrator and sit down and have a frank conversation. Have you changed any policies? What are you doing? Please assure me as a parent. I know all of the administrators want everybody to feel safe and secure. And I also want to let you know that's one of the things on our agenda today is to set a meeting where we can talk more globally as trustees. What are we doing? We're going to revisit some of our policies. Do we need to change them? Do we feel like we're doing enough? Do we have an open enough communication with our administrators? It's something that's on all of our minds. I don't want you to think that we're creating a closed bureaucracy. It's a moving target, and we often feel like we're kind of behind the curve, but it's something we're very aware of, and we want to address it, and we certainly want parents to be involved in the conversation, but don't feel like you can't pick up the phone and call up Mr. Welts or your teacher, your child's teacher or that administrator. Don't feel like you just have to be at the end of that grapevine and listen to rumors. Please don't let that feed your fear. Get the facts and be part of that solution. I would encourage you to do that. And if you feel frustrated right now because I can't give you any more, I also understand that. But right now isn't the time or place, but we are going to address that and hopefully come back and have something on the agenda and be able to address that more fully at a later date. So it's not something we're going to pass the buck till later. We are addressing it. So I do understand. I'm sure there are lots of other parents that are feeling the exact same thing and just didn't have the time or maybe didn't have the the temerity to come and address this today. So thank you. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board on a non-agenda item? Okay, let's jump in. Do we have any board comments or observations at this point on non-agenda items? All right. Looks like I took that a little bit out of order. Let's move to approval of the minutes. Number one, the regular board meeting minutes for February 12th. Do we have any changes or additions? Seeing none at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the February 12th regular board meeting minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the regular board meeting minutes as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Those board meeting minutes are passed. Let's move on to the February 20th special board meeting minutes. Do we have any additions or changes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those as submitted. We have a motion and second. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the February 20th meeting minutes as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
First one. Got hands raised, a couple of nods. I think that's a full hand there. So those are passed as well unanimously. Moving right along to the communication and discussion portion of our agenda. Number 3, update from our high school representative. It looks like I was informed that spring sports start tonight. And so unfortunately, all of our high school representatives are busy this evening, so we are going to go ahead and postpone that update. So we will move right along to number 4, which is the Linderman School presentation from Ms. Wilson.
So I'm just going to stand up and present my team.
Oh, okay.
And I think Carl, did they send you a PowerPoint?
Yeah, it's up. I just need to get
Okay,
that.
perfect. So we have, in our school, we have a parent partnership committee, and they work really hard to provide opportunities to communicate with parents. They have planned parent nights and parent activities in our school for the last few years, and they are going to go ahead and present on some of the things that they've done. And this is Brittany Simmons and Randy. Brittany Simmons, who's here now. Randy Yarbrough and Dr. Sherry. Oh, I'm not part of the team. Presenting. She is part of the team. Presenting, but I'm not part of the team. She's part of the team, but Brenda and Brittany are presenting.
You just have to. So, is it like back and forth when you're presenting, like to the board? Community. Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Brittany Simonich, and I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Linderman, and I'm here with my lovely assistant team member, Randy Yarbrough, 4th grade. And we are part of the Family Partnership Committee, which was started last year. It's something that is going so well in our building. The way it started is I just found that there was a need. I was part of the math committee, and we were planning this math night, and it was just insane. This attendance, we're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. People are here. It's great. And so we just thought, okay, let's start something that is an actual committee where we don't just come for one math night once a year. So we came up just with the mission. We are definitely working through that, but our mission is to collaborate with colleagues, families, and community members to provide high interest and engaging learning opportunities for Linderman students and their families. And we just finished our most recent night, which was our literacy night, Literacy Olympics. But I'll just kind of lead you through here. Our group is made up of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade teachers, and then also Roxanne Hovencarter, our librarian, who is very excited about our last event this year, which I'll get to later. We always like to kickstart the year with our back to school nights. So this was our second slide. Sorry. This was our second night. Let me start that over. This was our 2nd year of this night, and we made it into a community fair. And of course, the collaboration with community members is huge for us. We not only want parents knowing what we're doing, we want the community to know exactly what Linderman Elementary is all about. So that's really important to us. So we had the Boys and Girls Club. Ian Donovan is our Super One connection. So we usually get donated items or discounted items. McDonald's with drinks. We try and provide some sort of food, either dessert or, did we provide dinner this last time? It was our first night we did hot dogs. I don't know. I was like, the middle school does hot dogs.
And good ones.
We had pretty much, we like to kickstart the school year with, okay, what can your family be involved in besides just going to school? I mean, our school is wonderful, here are your awesome teachers, but look, you can have soccer practice at night and soccer games at our new facility up by the pool, swim practice. Did you know they have an after-school program? I didn't until this year. So anyway, so that was a hit. Again, receiving donations, working with the community, just gets kids excited about the school year. Our next night, we have decided to flip-flop fall and spring events. This was last fall, our Family Heritage Night. Students had to research a family member, and they worked on the writing and the research skills. It was just an opportunity for students to interview a family member, someone that was special to them, or a family friend, and learn about not only where they come from, just like the history. And so we had a map, which is still up in our school, where have you lived? So connections to other places, not only here in Montana, but all the way across the world. We had pins in like Taiwan, so it's really cool. The kids love it, and it's just a fun way, at least in my class, when we're taking a restroom break or getting a drink, where you're always accessing that map. So on the lockers, back one. On the lockers, they wrote a report, and just, it was so special to have family members come in and share. I mean, I was there later. I know teachers were there a lot later because we were just listening to the stories and celebrating families, and it was wonderful. We made the paper, go Darcy and her art, so that was last year. And we skipped the fall event and we're doing a spring event this year. How would you? Any questions? Our literacy night is kind of like our bread and butter. This was year 2 of it, and we like to do a theme night with my daughter Emily. Cool thing about this is that the whole staff gets involved. Yes, our committee plans it, and then we break out into subcommittees. But so many teachers are there. I think there are very few teachers that aren't able to make it, and I think it's because of other previous commitments, not that they just don't want to be there. People want to be there. And again, Super One, that was last year's, our Super Family Literacy Night, and then Literacy Olympics, of course, to go along with the Winter Olympics. We had bingo for books, and thank you to the Polson Scholarship Education and Foundation. Did I say that correct?
Close enough.
Okay, I'm going to get it one day. Polson Education and Scholarship.
Polson Scholarship and Education Foundation. I think you added an extra.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you to them. We received a $1,000 grant for books. So each student received, that came, and family members, younger ones, even their moms and dads received a book, at least one book, playing bingo for books. That was a huge success. Not to mention making bookmarks. We raised $365 for our committee with the raffle baskets. And teachers were awesome putting those together in teams. Kristen received an email from a parent, Jess. I should have put it on there. It was so heartfelt, just how much they enjoyed that evening. They felt that there was a lot of detail, a lot of time put into it, and they were just really impressed. So that was awesome that that parent took the time to write that email. All right. Oh, this was super fun. We're really excited. This was a huge hit. We partnered with St. Luke's last year. We received a $2,500 grant as part of their working with schools and kids and promoting fitness. And we called it the Sizzling Summer Send-Off. So just like the back-to-school kickoff, here are all your awesome activities to do in the fall. Look what's happening this summer. And we had around the walking path, a wellness fair, we had a 1-mile fun run, we had, the fire department came and soaked us all, that was the huge hit. We had games, the lunch was free for all who attended with that grant. I don't think we'll be able to do that again this year, but we're still planning on working with a lot of community members. And Roxanne Hovencotter with her wellness committee is taking that over. I'm like, that is your baby. Just go with it. So she's super excited, and I think it's going to be even better than last year. So, STEAM Night, yay! This is our new one. So last year in the fall was the Heritage Night, and then this spring is our STEAM Night. Of course, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We're still in the planning stages, but that will be April 26th. We try and keep them on Thursday nights. We found that that's just a good night for everyone, or we've decided that it's going to be a good night for everyone. Yeah, and we usually have about at least 300 people in attendance. Like, these are well attended, and kids are excited to come. It's just nice to see families connecting those learning opportunities from the classroom with their families, promoting reading at home, promoting, of course, working on robotics. So we're, again, just in the brainstorming stages. We want to work with community members to make it even better. So if anyone is in any of those fields or want to come on over, just talk to me, B. Simonich at Folsom. So we're really excited. There's about, I think, 10 of us. It was a bigger thing. I'm hoping Ms. Wilson says, hey, you're either on this committee or you're on the family partnership committee next year, maybe. So it'll get bigger.
There's a lot of teachers who have put a lot of time into it.
Yeah, and so we're excited. And again, just bringing families, partnering with the community is what we're all about. And so it's been a hit. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We love hearing about these great events that you guys put on. If we don't have little ones, we don't always get to participate, and so it's really cool to hear about them. Thank you so much. We had some folks speak out there. Let's see. Speak of, well, I don't want to say speak of the devil, that sounds terrible. Number 5, Polson Scholarship and Education Foundation. Who is here today?
The devil.
Okay. Mr. Dave.
So, I was able to go to some of those events. So this is what, how was your day today?
My day?
Yeah.
I had a great day.
I can tell. It was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know how you have that much energy left at the end of the day, but
my husband tells me where to.
Yeah, I said you technically told me that. I don't have that energy. So we have 2. I'll hand this to you. That's where it goes. 2 awards tonight from the foundation, and I know that we have at least one more that we're discussing right now. In the Cherry Valley School. But these 2 awards, the first one, 3rd graders get new ears. So I think she has an example of these ears with her.
So I'm kind of the community beggar. I need something, I go door to door looking for cash. And so I wrote a grant this time instead. And so I wrote a grant for 75 sets or pairs of these headphones for classrooms. It's important when you're doing reading that you also listen either to yourself read, but you can also listen to the text being read to you. It's a great part of reading. It's a part that a lot of our kids are missing out on. So I wrote the grant for 75 sets, but I really got 108 because I was a thrifty shopper. And so I ended up, these are the exact ones that we're getting, and they're nice because the ears are so nice. Little ones, if you tend to get the ones that aren't very thick, they pick at them and pull at them, and then they're off, and then you have to throw them away. And we also ask them to bring them on their supply lists, but they bring the earbuds, and the earbuds don't fit into a 3rd grader's ear or younger, so they're just too big. So thank you very much. We will put these to great use. We're going to check them out and gather them so they'll be taken care of for many, many years. So thank you very much.
So the second one was for Joyce Crosby's grant that she asked for 1st grade creative play tubs, which I think are going to be tubs full of toys.
A huge hit.
Yeah, huge hit.
We just have a very academic day in 1st grade, and over the years academics have kind of been pushed down, and they're more formal academics, and we actually also go for a very long school day, longer than minutes-wise than we really need to go. And we don't have a lot of toys. And so I was looking for more creative ones, and I'm heading it up, but it's for the whole 1st grade. So we're buying toys that we can rotate around. So I actually already spent some of that money this weekend. I went shopping and bought Lego. So Lego, I bought boy Lego and girl Lego separate, but then we're ordering the rest of it from the catalog, so it's going to be kind of like magnetic building things. That's another idea. I had some of the other first grade teachers help out with what they would like, so everybody else gets to pick something as well. So they would be put to good use. And nice toys are expensive, so so they're going to be great for our kids. So thank you very much. I got fun with it.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
That's plenty. Thank you so much.
Can I ask the difference between boy and girl Legos?
I was thinking the same thing. I thought it was just Legos.
Oh, just think about it.
They're not like different.
No.
Yes, there's pink and purple Legos, and then there's white Legos.
There's also like a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Well, you know, okay, so this whole thing started because of the Lego, because for those of you who know me, I only had boys at my house. And so a lot of the things that, I don't know if you're aware of this, but for instance, toys at school come from our own homes. And so most of my toys in my classroom tend to be boy toys, because I have boys, right? And the boys, I have a bin of Lego and a bin of Duplo, and the boys just, they dominate it. They dominate that Lego, and they don't let the girls in, basically. And when we were shopping kind of over Christmas, I ended up having a foster child. Anyhow, looking at some girl things, and they have the coolest girl Lego, anywhere from like Frozen characters, you know, and that like Little Mermaid ones and stuff, but they also have these Friends ones, and the colors are more girl oriented. Everything about them is, they're just girl Lego. And I thought, oh, I'd really love some of those, but they're so expensive, you know. And so that's actually how my idea started, because I wanted some things really more for my girls in my classroom, because I have more boys stuff. So that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
All right. Okay. More accessible. I have all boys too, so I didn't know exactly. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, and thank you to the Polson Scholarship Education Foundation once again for supporting all our creative teacher ideas and our little ones. Okay, let's move along to the superintendent's report. Mr. Wells, I know you've got a lot on your list today.
It's not as robust as it has been in the past. I will echo that same thing. Thanks, Ryan and the Foundation, for your guys' continued support for teachers. It's a great avenue for staff members to know that there's a group out there that's willing to take a chance and spend money where it doesn't always make sense. We're going to buy something, and you guys have that great open-mindedness to let us try new things and explore. So we appreciate that from the school board. Recognition off my list, first thing is that we had talked about it, and it seemed like she was the spotlight of our conversation last month was Chris Kelly. But I did get a chance to get up and see that snowshoeing event that we heard about last month, and I think they even did a documentary on her with the new journalism class. Anyway, I was there, and I recognized her efforts and what she put together, but also the County Sheriff Bell and our Folsom Police Chief, Mr. Nash. They were there giving out, not just giving out, they were freezing while they were doing it. It was a very cold, windy day out on the tundra. And then they were giving out ribbons and awards, and so I want to thank them publicly as well. As we heard, and Caesar had mentioned it as well, is safety is really the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now. I was able to, 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, I was able to get with both Linderman and Cherry Valley and just discuss, we have some trainings coming up, but they aren't for a month and or to the start of the next school year, and I wanted to get in front of those staff members and talk about the run lock fight, just what that looks like. And we are having a volunteer training, as it says in our packet. We are meeting in the morning at the high school, and it's really a joint effort. We are going to have our rural schools, St. Joe, and those teachers that can be there on that Saturday, and just to go through that plan and that what it is that we would expect our teachers to do. A lot of that is muscle memory, is understanding, knowing that you have a plan. There's 3 things, and you can't train for it all, but that's a good start. I was able to get to Kiwanis as a guest speaker with Donna Olson invited me, and again, center of attention was school safety and Linderman as a project, and so I was able to talk to the community at that point. Also on my list that we talked about is we had district book study again, that professional book study. It's We're losing a little numbers in the spring, but it's still real valuable. In fact, the teachers that were present talked about how they're taking the strategies from the book and they're incorporating it in their classrooms, and so some good things are coming out of that. Another really good meeting committee that we have is our district core values, and I'm going to draw attention to some of the information in your green packets. There's a draft of our work that we've started. I sent it out to most of you who are on that committee, but if you're not, this is what it looks like, and I'm really satisfied. And we have some members that are in our audience that serve on that committee. Some really good things are coming about. Just who we are as an organization, what our cores, what do we believe in? We believe in kids, and safety is part of that conversation. So we're identifying and fleshing out really what our district would stand for and who we are as an organization. So it's a really good work there. There'll be another meeting planned. I thought maybe one, but it could be two more before I think it's finalized, and I'd like to take that to the board upon completion of our work. So look forward to that coming towards you. I included at the very end of that, you can see all the core values that we talked about in that committee. And the ones that we spoke of most are highlighted. I don't know if it came out color in your guys' packet. But then we incorporated those into what our core beliefs. And you'll see that we then got fancy. We're trying to have something that we can remember. It's easily identifiable. And so the first one we put in was trust. And each beginning has all the core values that we believe in. You'll see there's a mission statement, a vision of who we think, what we see ourselves as, and then those core values. So I'm excited about that work. Another important committee that I've heard about, I got here in 2012, and one of the first things that was mentioned to me was the stipends. And so this is the year that we brought that to attention. Doug and Pamela have led or co-chaired that committee, and really looking at the stipends themselves, and from middle school to high school and the club programs. And there's a lot of misinformation about that, just because it hasn't been well communicated. But Doug's done a lot of work. He's performed a lot of data entry to see what all other Class A schools look like and how they're based their stipends on compared to us. And so it really gives us a good indicator of where we are with the other districts. And I believe that there's work being done right now, and I'm not so sure we have a meeting set, but there will be more meetings to come. Another important, Pamela and Deb and I attended a School Board Association budget meeting in Kalispell last week, and then one that we're currently working on, and it kind of hot off the press. There's a draft memo that will go out to our community, including parents and our staff. 2 weeks ago was the 17 tragedy, the shooting in Florida. And so there's a national movement, there's a national and state movement for a walkout, if you will. We as administrators have been talking up and down across the state, as far as the Miles City, Bozeman, Kalispell, and the Bitterroot have all putting our heads together in what this looks like and how we're going to help students. Legal has been involved in it, what we can and can't do from an organization standpoint. And so Wednesday at 10 o'clock, from 17 minutes signifying or honoring those 17 victims in Florida, there is a state walkout or a protest, if you will, civil disobedience. What's important to note is that I believe firmly in student voice, and I believe that democracy has the ability to allow people to have a voice. But we're also in a school system, and we need to manage that well. We're taking the lead off of what Kalispell is doing, and it makes a lot of sense. What we're going to do is we can't promote or condone. Political speech is one that we can't persuade. It's driven from grassroots, from students, and so that's their right. And I think they should have that. But what we're going to do, instead of just allowing students to go out and protest, we're also having an assembly. And this is, we've been working with Scott, the middle school administration, allowing the students to have a voice of what they think is important. And this is not, we are not, as you see in our letter, this is not about a political statement. This is about honoring those 17 that had passed away. Right? This is not about gun control. This is not about mental health wellness. This is about those students and school safety. And so this is going to be an assembly generated completely by our students, ran by our students, but our staff, our administration, is charged to provide safety structure. So that's going to happen on Wednesday. Any questions about that one? Because that's a...
And just to be clear, so if students choose not to participate in that, because I've had some calls about this from parents, if students choose not to participate in that and choose instead to walk out during that period or participate in some other kind of protest, they will be marked as unexcused absent, correct?
Correct. And so...
And the consequences for that will be what?
Whatever their handbooks say, and that usually is, if it's an unexcused absence, it's a detention or sort of.
And I know I'm going to get a follow-up from a parent who goes, well, what if I call in and say, I'm giving them permission to do this? I know a parent who's going to do that. What do I say to the parent who's going to call me?
Mr. Wilson?
Well, the parent always has the right to check their child out of school.
Okay.
I mean, there's no, but then they are going to also have to follow the procedure of checking their child back into school.
Okay, got it, okay.
I mean, they can't excuse them for the rest of the day and then have the student show back up. I mean, we need to have, just like any other. And, you know, the same thing with students don't have to participate in anything. And the teachers will be running their classes. What we aren't going to allow is kids to go sit in the hall, sit in the commons, you know, do those types of things. Because we're going to run, it's a school day.
Okay.
So business will run as usual.
So the legal side of that, and actually Doug had received a memo from their regional union rep, I believe, indicating that this is the recommendation and or the law for staff is that they can't participate with, they can't leave their classrooms. It's against the law for them to be able to do that. So they are going to continue to provide educational services. There may be 1, 5, 10, or 0, but that is their plot. Now, if there's a need, the site administrator, Mr. Pinkmeyer, Mr. Wilson, can direct people to go out for supervision and safety, for structure, but they can't do that on their own accord. Okay. We're also making note that all substitute teachers that come into the building and parents know that same thing.
So it's either go to class, go to the assembly, or walk out? That's the choice? Or their assembly and then, I was a little confused as to what your day was going to be.
We really want people to engage in the assembly.
Okay.
But we're not going to stop it.
It's the same time as the assembly?
Yes, same
Thank you, that's what was unclear.
So the assembly's at 10 o'clock?
Yes, 10 o'clock.
Perfect, thank you.
So they have a forum to express their opinion and to
or
have
they
a
can
voice.
choose to civil disobedience.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. That's what it was just a little unfair that you were like, we'll have class, then we'll have an assembly, and then some, and I'm like.
No, they're both at the same time.
Thank you.
So it's an alternative where they can express themselves, but not necessarily have some kind of negative consequence that is going to impact us.
And you will get this question, why, and there are districts that, as we worked with Kalispell this afternoon, they're getting questions, why don't you just let them, why do you have an attendance policy? Why don't you just let them go and do their thing and come back? If we waive those attendance rights, really it looks like we are promoting that activity. And that it's not consistent with any of our group to just get up and walk away. There are consequences.
Got it.
So,
I just had a comment because I would be one of those persons that would ask you, and I already told my daughter, I said, and I applaud you for having the assembly, and you indicate that, you know, you're showing you're accepting the responsibility of the students, you know, in the bureaucracy, but at the same time, then you have this caveat that if you walk out, if you don't attend assembly, if you don't attend class, and you walk out, there is a punishment. So you're saying for democracy, there's a punishment. And that is inconsistent. You probably have students bring that up to you. So I hope you have a good answer.
It's civil disobedience, just like anything else. And in democracy, there is civil disobedience, and there's a punishment for that. If you choose to stage a protest down the middle of Main Street, there are often, even in a democracy, there are consequences for that.
It's kind of the point to civil
Yeah.
disobedience, is that you're stressing how strongly you feel about this value, that you're willing to commit civil disobedience to do it.
It's civil, but it is it's not civil obedience.
But there's not always penalties for civil disobedience.
Yeah, there are.
No, there aren't.
Yeah. And whether they're enforced or not is a different deal. But yeah, and whether that's not giving you parade permits to do that, but it's civil disobedience.
Okay.
Right. So, anyway.
Yeah, this was just communicating information about where we are. It's, again, it's not necessarily a debate at this point. So any questions about clarification, not necessarily about whether or not it's right or wrong?
Correct, thanks. And there'll be more communication from me soon. It'll be tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
I want to inform our parents of what that looks like.
Okay, all right.
And I have one more.
Oh, okay.
One thing on my list. You'll notice in your packet I've added 2 dates. That was the calendar that we had talked about. There's 2 dates for a work session. I'd really like for us to come together.
All right.
Under the premise of Linderman School Building, we did get the second report back from the engineer from the travelers. You do have a hard copy of that. I urge you to take a look at it. And so I want to visit about that and school safety, where we're at. Some of the things we've done so far. And so if you look at those dates, it's Thursday and or Friday. I'm telling you this, we all know it's really hard to get this together. But if there's a time that works best for you, you let me know. It doesn't have to be tonight, but I would like to know tomorrow if one of those dates work better than the other.
Either one, fine with me.
Thursday, I already have plans. I can do Friday.
Friday.
The time is tough for me on Friday.
I know.
Wait a minute.
Carl informed me this afternoon that we could do conference. If you were out and you want to call in, we could do it that way as well. What I really want to do, Board, is just give you the opportunity to hear. I mean, there's stuff I want to tell you. It's really difficult, and through an email it's difficult. So I'd like
And
to
if
get
everybody wants to do Thursday, I can always circle back with you later as well.
Alan, is there anything that works better for you?
I don't think I got that sheet, to be honest with you.
You can go green folder.
How's that on?
Not saying I can't make Friday.
Either or probably work.
Okay. Yeah. Tell you what I'll do. I will send an email tonight with that, and then you can respond to that.
Thursday's probably better for me. I'll see what I can do.
Okay. I might be able to come for the first part.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Trustee Wells? Trustee Wells. Mr. Wells, my apologies. Before we move on. You just got nothing. but no pay, sorry. Let's see. Okay, but you're still the next speaker. So the Linderman project update.
As I mentioned, thank you. As I mentioned, we did receive a second report from travelers. We'll just leave it at that. It coincides very well and dovetails with Tom Baudette's first original report.
No big surprises then?
Not a big surprise, no. As though there are a lot of, there's some information that I'd like to discuss in that. Look, my hearing aid.
I know.
The doorbell. Is that my hearing aid? No, Jeff. Last month we passed RFQ. That was a request for qualifications, and then we were to do the method of having a construction manager and an engineer work together. And the premise of that is that an engineer will design something, and the construction manager will look at it and say that's not possible, or it's really not feasible to build it that way. So they work well. So they work together. We wanted to find out if they are good at working together under those premise. So those RFQs were due. We had an opening. We had one construction manager that put in, that was Swain, we've been working with him. And then we had two engineers. The one was DCI, which is Tom Baudette's firm, and the other was Aegis, and that's Dan Haugen out of Missoula. Both of them have very good recommendations and good qualifications. When we meet this week, I'd like to talk to you about both of those, because Carl and I did a follow-up phone conversation with both of them on Friday. I'd like to follow up with you on how that turned out. Also with the Linderman project is the work session, and make sure that we get together on that piece, and then the second report. So those are the pieces to the Linderman project, and we've got some talk and discussion to do.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Any follow-up questions? All right. And moving right along, Indian Education Committee. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I can introduce Danny. He's kind of come back out of retirement. Danny was the IEC president 18 years ago when I got here in our district. Did a fantastic job. Took a few years off, and Pete, I think, we coaxed him out of retirement. We wanted to have a placeholder at every board meeting for the IEC. We may want to move it up a little bit in the agenda, so that just something to consider. And so Danny Villegas is our chair, president of the IEC, and I see a few other members here too. So Danny, it's all yours.
Yeah, I came on board out of retirement right now, back in the day, and I guess I'm back here again in this day, that we need to get to know one another in the community, and just all of us need to know that. And I've been seeing a lot of positive things in the community with the Linderman, with the staff. We're just sitting and talking, and especially with our cultures, it's a lot of respect here going on. I even have the athletic coordinator here working with us, asking questions of respect for our community or being on a reservation. I'm seeing a lot of good things, a lot of seed, a lot of fruit. That's what I say, it's productive. And sometimes we run into stuff, we don't always agree, but it's amazing disagreeing, we could come around and make it positive. But I see a lot of things that Mrs. Williams, she's been here, she's re-educating me again. And I see Dee here. We got a community here. Back then, a lot of us with the Gunlocks, Johnsons, when we came here, I mean, we came here with athletics, we came here for schooling, we came here for reading, and that's where I come back to, like with her, we want to stir up our community again. We need to get back to the village, where we all came from, and try to work this out. And that's what I'm seeing right now, working with you in the district and back coming up the board. I'd like to see, like we did back then, we worked with the school board here, and a lot of our different areas on a reservation, we have a lot of little districts. And we're trying to get a lot of people involved here, and just keep this rolling. And I think they need some representation too, but I'd like to see this all come back again. It's coming. We got a pretty good, especially the Indian Education Committee, and out of with Pablo here, they're really working with us, and I'd like to see this grow. You know, especially I appreciate what you're doing right now. We're getting, you know, all like in Elmo. We're getting out here at Turtle Lake. We're trying to build this again. We got all these things coming in. We notice there's things coming down the pipe in government where they're trying to take, you know, a chopping block of different things, but it's going to come down to me and you to try to work together. And that's what we're trying to do in the Education Committee, and just trying to get our kids. We want to get our kids. We've got too many suicides going on. We want to start seeing things change, get involved with kids again. So that's what I just, in a nutshell, what we're about. We'd like to see. And I think we had something on the board here with there was some changes that you'll bring up tonight. But one thing I did see some changes, and I've been in business for 31 years, some of you know me. Anytime I do business, it's not just about me. I like to have witnesses, at least 2 or 3. It makes you honest. It's not about me, it's our community. So that's what I've always dealt. I see some changes I really like on that. But I just, she'll bring that up, some of the changes are over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Well, we're sure glad to have you here and get more representation, more input from the IEC, and certainly let us know if there's anything that the board, if you'd like to have one of the board members come to one of your meetings for something specific, we'd be happy to accommodate you.
And a quick question, Dennis, did you want to talk about the Indian policies and procedures and what the IEC just ended up
You could go ahead. You got it all.
Great. Is it okay if I speak about the IEPs? Yeah. Great. So, Amy Williams, parent and a teacher over at Folsom Middle School, but with the Indian Education Committee, we did just go through and update the Indian policies and procedures for the school district. So it was probably 6-7 hours that we actually sat through and went line by line to see how we could update. It was since 2006 was the last update, so it was really appreciated Superintendent Welts and Tom DiGennaro bringing it to the Indian Education Committee to say, hey, can you guys look at this, let's see where we can make some improvements and kind of modernize it and update it for what we need to have for the input. So, thank you.
Yeah, I looked over. There was obviously some serious work that went into that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any questions, questions? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to board committee updates. Trustee Anderson and Orion, anything on facilities other than Linderman at this point?
We did not meet this is our off month. Next month we'll meet after spring break.
Got it. Okay. Well, neither one of our folks from policy committee is here, and I don't believe we had anything new, did we? No. Okay. Budget committee, we'll be talking about that in a little bit.
We're going to schedule.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to be scheduling a budget meeting here coming up soon. Negotiations committee, Chanel. Nothing scheduled with the classified yet? Okay. And we haven't started meeting with the certified yet. Class A caucus, that's not happening. Transportation, that just happened. Yeah, we are whipping through this. Superintendent evaluation, we're in the middle of that process right now. So
you should have all received an email.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure you got that. Did you get it? Okay. I'll remind you in a week or two to have to.
And let's see, Rex already reported on core values. And calendar committee met, and we'll be addressing that in a few minutes. There we go. How's that? All right. Moving right along, number 10, budget report. Ms. Clary.
Thank you. Tonight was the deadline for the intent to run for candidate. And we had all of our positions filed for and no extras, so we will be able to call election by acclamation instead of having to have an election. I will verify that with the county election officer in the morning just to make sure that nobody turned in over there tonight. But as of 3 o'clock, she hadn't received anything.
So 4 people, 4 slots.
Yeah. Did you want to know, or do you want that to be next month when we know for sure?
Yeah, next month this time.
Okay. So included in your listing this month that I prepared, you will, I wrote in there that you will begin to see some of the expenses relating to the Linderman parapet collapse and the network upgrades, as well as the auditorium seating down payment getting started. So those are some of those hot ticket items on that list. Looking at where we are year to date, we're right kind of where we should be, maybe a little bit more than last year, but that is to be expected because we did have to adopt without the funds we thought we would originally have, so that's where that difference is.
Well, we haven't filed, well, I mean, I know we're in the process of the insurance claim for the Linderman, but we haven't, none of that has been determined, and so we haven't received any funds or anything like that.
No, we have not. What we have paid, we are keeping track of in the building fund, and if need be, then we'll reimburse that back.
Got it.
Okay. We'll wait to see what becomes of that.
Thank you.
Other than that, I don't have anything to add because we'll be talking about the resolution here shortly for the Senate vote through that.
Okay. question. Any questions for Pamela, trustees? All right, let's move right along. We have the consent agenda, number 11. At this point, are there any items that need to be removed for individual consideration? Seeing none, at this point, I would consider a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The consent agenda is passed. Moving on to new business, number 12. Recommendation to approve the 2018-2019 school calendar. Mr. Yarborough.
Well, let's see. The calendar committee met 3 times and submitted a calendar to in the board packet to Mr. Wells last week, and that's the calendar we're moving forward.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to ask, are there any comments from the public regarding the proposed calendar?
I do.
Yes, would you please stand and say your name for the record, please?
My name is Lucinda Michelle, and I have 3 students here in the district. 1 at Cherry Valley and 2 in the middle school. With the proposed calendar, my concern is after Christmas break, you come back in the middle of a week and you have 2 days left of that week. During that time is like a very cultural significant time for my people. And I'm just wanting to know if we could extend it to the end of the week so that my kids aren't getting absences. Because I remember being a student at Colson School and getting on the bus at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Is he okay?
Yeah, his sisters are awesome.
Okay. He's like, you do not be speaking and
but I remember being a student and not wanting to miss school and coming from our blacktail dances straight to school. My kids have done it. When I suggested, no, you gotta stay home, you gotta sleep. No, we gotta go to school, we can't be absent. So my suggestion is that we just add maybe 2 days at the beginning of the school year, 2 days at the end of the school year, and let's take those 2 days off. We celebrate Easter, which I never celebrated Easter until this year. I got a foster child who said, do you do Easter? I'm like, no, never thought of it. But every year we celebrate our Black dances, and that is part of our religion. And to have those 2 days off for the students, because it's not just a few students, it's up and down the reservation. Dayton School has 8 students from our community, and they extended so that our students could attend our dances.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the calendar issue?
Yes.
And would you say your name for the record, please?
Yes, Amy Williams. I am a parent of 2 students here, 2 graduates from Folsom High School as well, and also a school teacher here. So there were a number of parents that wanted to come to represent their thoughts, ideas, but however there is within the Kootenai community, there is a funeral tonight, so they extend their apologies for not being able to do that, but asked that I could represent their thoughts and ideas as well. We have some representatives from the Salish community as well that had contacted me and asked that we just kind of present those thoughts and ideas as well, with especially with the winter break and coming back on the 3rd and the 4th. Within the Kootenai communities, it is typically January 1st through 5th with jump dance, and it is a very important time within that year for the cultural activities and the cultural calendars within the Kootenai and Salish communities. And just asking that extend the break by those 2 days, and whether it needs to be a day off of spring break, whether it needs to be, a day in another time where they can, be pulled from. Just wanted to make sure that we understood that jump dance really is something within our communities here living on the Flathead Reservation that is important to the culture of people who are here. And just ask that, it be considered within the calendar, extending the break, so that way we don't have a number of students that are absent or having that feeling of not being able to fully, participate within the cultural, the traditional ceremonies, the traditional activities, and have to worry about missing school and coming back with that. So not having to try and balance both of it. And I don't know if anybody understands what the jump dance is. It's, 5 days, 6 days of complete, lots of lack of sleep, dancing all night long, and just a number of, commitment within that as well. So rather than have students that are really tired and trying to be students and participate in their community. And then Dana Stefani, the Kootenai Culture Committee Director, he also would have liked to have been here, however he was doing the activities for the funeral tonight.
Do we have any other comments from the public regarding the calendar? Okay, I would like to go ahead and share some other comments that were shared with me as well. First of all, a little history. As some of you may know, 4 years ago, we met as trustees and with the administration for this particular reason. We asked the committee to, because of some contention, to go ahead and meet, and they could have carte blanche as long as there was a week at spring break, 2 weeks at Christmas, and then the day before Thanksgiving, because everybody likes to leave early anyway. And for 2 years we did that, and we got a lot of positive feedback from the community, not only from the Native community, but there are quite a few folks outside of the Native community who use that time to visit family, or just get that break in the winter, to spend time reconnecting, etc. And it was just a tremendous amount of positivity and goodwill around that. Last year, the committee recommended that we roll that back. We, the board, went ahead and accepted that recommendation. And we got, I can say as a board member, got tremendous pushback from that. A lot of disappointment, again, from lots of different folks in the community. I know you guys have heard me joke before about getting pinned in the Safeway freezer section. I got an earful. Just to let you know, some of the folks that have reached out to me since this was put on the agenda, it includes the president of SKC, who pointed out not only do they have Native students, but they also have non-Native students who travel. And since they have an extended vacation, they're often gone. And if they have kiddos in the system, their kiddos miss that time. I was also contacted by the head of the Tribal Education Department, Dr. Julie Kajun, who said they would be most appreciative if we did extend it back to 2 weeks. It is a wonderful thing for folks not to have to choose between cultural obligations and school obligations. We talk all the time about attendance and how important that is. And yes, indeed, we say, hey, it's going to be an excused absence. But for every single one of you teachers, you know what it's like, how much it disrupts the classroom when a bunch of kids who've been absent come back into the classroom, and you've got to catch them up, and it changes that dynamic. So I know there's no real easy answer to this, and I want to say to Jesse, I know this feels, it's not easy, and it's not that we're disrespecting the work that's done. And 95% of what you've done is fantastic, and we want to accept. We just want to tweak it a little bit. Because we know this is a needle with a tiny little hole, and we're trying to thread it and make everybody happy, and I'm not sure we can make everybody happy, but we're going to try to walk that line as closely as we can. And again, I hope everybody can appreciate that, so I'm going to ask the board. I've been talking with Rex and Chanel, and talked with a couple of the other folks. What you have in your green folders, about on your left-hand side, a couple of pages back, is an alternate schedule. And again, I talked to Rex about, he put this together with some other input. It includes a 2-week break. And it also includes an accommodation for our elementary school kids, so they don't have to do a full week when they start. And it does push back the end date a little bit. Rex assured me that the high schoolers would be able to deal with it. It's not gonna make them all super happy, but,
I just have
yeah,
a question.
bring it up, go ahead.
Okay, so, the one in the packet is the one.
The one in the packet is the one that was recommended.
The one in here, okay. I guess I'm assuming, the Easter is not this calendar that's being presented. The week that you have spring break, I'm assuming it's maybe a quarter break or a semester or something?
Quarter.
Because Easter isn't until later in the.
Between the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, okay. And I have heard, in defense of that week, I have heard from a lot that break is much needed. And so I can see that. I just didn't want this, whoever brought it up, that we take off Easter and not something else.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that point of clarity was taken. I do have concern for being out. Is this what can I do this or not? Sure. Okay. I do have concern for being out so late in June, just because me being a parent of kids that are involved in summer baseball and summer softball and summer soccer, you're on the road, you're out the way. Like I know I don't have next year's schedule, but I compared this year's schedule to it, and all the late kids would be out of school. They'll be gone. I mean, not that it's not about my children, but I'm saying there's other things. So I guess in the back, I mean, I'm fine with whatever calendar, because it's a lot of work, and I know there's a lot of emotions in this. But I am concerned about being in school so late, but that's just my opinion. I will go with whatever. I mean, I'm good, but I don't know, maybe the administrators can help me, talk me into that's okay. I just know a lot of people that are gone then, I mean, we're just out of here. So. Anyway.
Yes. My first instinct is, we asked you to put a committee together and make a calendar, and you did that, and you did it well. So I support that without tweaking it. But, and along with that, it's been said many times that we have kids that are out for Christmas break for 2 weeks, and they don't see a meal until they get back to school. That bothers me.
I've been told that if we do have kids with food insecurity, and that is the biggest issue barring the 2 weeks for respecting cultural time, that the tribes will step up and partner and help us with a food program. It's that important.
That was I didn't have that other question. Is that still a big need? And I'm relying on my teachers and my administrators to tell me, is there kids that are going without food for that 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So what is the fix for that? What exactly does that look like? Are we going to feed them for the whole break?
Well, I mean, what we're talking about here is I mean, really the difference here we're talking about is 2 days.
Would we normally feed the kids during the break? We have not.
In certain situations, we do send food home to kids that we know do need it, so we make provisions.
So we could do that. We
Yeah.
could certainly expand that program. And like I said, we've gotten unequivocal. If that is the stumbling block to going back to 2 weeks, we will step up and make that happen.
I think regardless if it's 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is, we need to make that happen because we feed them in the summer, why can't we feed them? That's another issue.
Well, being a part of that committee, and I know we've already touched on this, there was a lot of work in there. And trust me, all these issues were discussed extensively. All this wasn't just brushed aside. We looked at it, and we're trying to, like you said, you're never going to satisfy everyone, no matter what you do. And if we try to schedule around everybody else's schedule, say you want to take a vacation or you want to, we're never going to get a schedule together. So we try to do the best we can. We had 3 different schedules to look at. I'm not, to be honest with you, for me personally, I'm not thrilled about having a week off for spring break. But I'm willing to make that concession. If that's what they want, let's go. Okay. I don't know if any of these ideals are set in stone as far as 2 weeks of Christmas, and then Thanksgiving and all that. do we actually have a policy that says we have to follow that?
We don't have a policy, but we agreed on it 4 years ago, and we did it for 2 years, and it worked really well. And I don't understand why we went back on it, and then, like I said, and people in the community that have talked to me don't understand why we went back on it.
Because I also get feedback too, and I actually got more feedback of taking too much time off from parents. So you must have got different parents, I don't know, maybe. Because parents were concerned, they work. What do I do for childcare? Okay, that was a big concern. Granted, 2 days doesn't seem like much, and it really isn't in the whole scheme of things. One other big concern, and we discussed that as well, Jess, you can back that up. As from a committee's point of view, when you put that much time and effort into something, and then in the end you present something, and then all of a sudden, nope, we're doing this. We're not going to get volunteers for committee because they're going to go, why do it?
I completely understand that.
And that is a concern. So,
but I would go
we
back
just need to look at all sides.
And I completely understand that, but I would go back to originally we had said the guidelines were 2 weeks at Christmas, week at spring break, and the day before Thanksgiving, and the committee went back on that last year. And so I would say.
But that was not a policy.
Exactly.
A written policy.
It wasn't.
Well, and the committee is advisory, so technically we're not. We're taking all of this under advisement.
I guess my biggest concern is flipping a decision that a committee has made, and I'm the one that has to get the volunteers for that. It's really tough getting volunteers to sit on that committee because it has happened time and time again where a recommendation has come forward and then changes have
I
been made.
completely understand exactly where you're coming from, and this is what is so difficult about this committee in particular. It's a committee that is, it's odd in that it's a committee that there are so many other districts that this is something that's just set by the administration. It's not set by committee. I mean, in no other place in the world do you show up at your job and you set a committee to decide when you show up. I mean, this is really unusual. And I'm not saying that it needs to be gotten rid of altogether, but as an elected official, it is my job to take into consideration the needs of all of the parents and the entire community. And I'm not saying that the committee didn't, but I think there are different considerations to be taken in, and I'm still flummoxed that we did it and seemed to do it well for 2 years, and then it got flipped on its head. And because it came forward to us last year, and I hadn't reached out to anyone, and everyone assumed we'd just go ahead and keep the two weeks. So I was like, well, okay, and I'm in the minority here. Okay, well, I guess that's what the committee wants, and we'll pass it. And boy, did I get grief about it. And again, as an elected official, it's my job to take that information in, and you heard from members of the public who said, this is really important to us. I mean, we're a school on a reservation. It's a recognition of a sense of place. If we were talking about a mainstream holiday, I don't think we'd be having the same discussion. And I know it's not easy, and I'm not trying to call anybody out for this. I mean, it's like playing a giant game of Tetris. I know that there's so many different things that we're trying to juggle here. There is an alternative, but it's not going to make the elementary school people happy. We could lose the February holiday of the 22nd and move the first day of school to Monday the 27th. And that would give all the elementary schools a full week of school when they come back. And you'd still get to end school on the 7th. And then you get your 2 days for Christmas. But then the elementary kiddos get a full first week back. I'm not saying like, no, okay. So those are 2 options that we're looking at.
Is this something that could be put back to the committee for reconsideration?
I was going to suggest that. Could we table it and reconsider?
What if they don't want it back?
And rehash?
Good decision.
Well, I know everybody's waiting to be able to schedule things.
To be honest, we weren't insensitive towards cultural activities at all. I mean, we discussed that at length, and I think everybody was there and agreed with that.
Well, and I can say as somebody who was on the calendar committee, I've been on the calendar committee for 5 years, I think. And last year we moved away from the 2-week spring break because there had been so much Christmas break, sorry. Because there had been so much feedback from the community, speaking more along the line with Mr. Anderson's feedback that 2 weeks at Christmas was too long, and because of the concern that we as teachers have for our kids who we know do not have warm homes, who we know depend on the stability that school gives them, which is why we moved away from the 2-week winter break, because of feedback that school board members had from the community. And even, like, I have young children. My oldest is in 4th grade and my youngest will be in kindergarten next year. Feedback that I had gotten just from, like, parent friends feeling frustration with that extended winter break. And so it wasn't out of, I mean, as we make these calendars, we try to weigh all of the various aspects. We understand that cultural time is important, but we also understand that we have kids who depend on school for stability and safety, and that has seemed to us I'm speaking to the committee here, but that seemed to us to be more important. I mean, when you're weighing, it's hard to assign like you can't just easily assign value to something. But the safety and the well-being of our students, their physical well-being, took priority over other considerations.
And I'm thinking about that too, and I guess in unpacking that argument, that argument would seem to be stronger for me, I guess, if we were talking about adding net school days to the overall calendar, but we're just talking about moving them. Because if we're talking about adding stability to a child's life, we're just, I mean, are we gonna start offering year-round school so that we can have stability? I mean, it's still 100 and X many days, whether we're having them at, Christmas or whether we're having them at the end of the year.
There are programs established already that exist in the summer, like the summer food program, and the Boys and Girls Club has summer programming that already exists for that time where school typically lets off. Those programs, we do a backpack food program, but there's not a food program.
But those programs are finite. For example, the one at Polson, I mean, has a limited space. I mean, it's not filling that gap.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Not to interrupt.
No.
Mr. Wells, is there a way to work with the tribal community to not negatively affect those students that do the jump dance?
We do have that. It's cultural absence. I mean, but how you assign that absence isn't necessarily. It's the fact of being gone and being caught back up, and it doesn't on your report card, or attendance sheet. It'll show that it's a cultural. It doesn't count against you, but you're still missing, seat time. So.
And this teacher still has to catch them back up, and they still have, more absences during that time than they do any other part of the year.
But to answer your question, yes, there is, and that's been in practice for years.
But one other thing, we also realize that it's a moving target from one year to next. We actually discussed 2 years, 3 years down the road, when Christmas hits in the middle of the week, New Year's in the middle of the week. We're gonna have no choice but to take 2 weeks of time.
That's what I was just gonna add.
So it's a moving target from.
I think talking to the community, talking to the chair of the committee, that in the next couple of years you'll see that because where Christmas falls, you'll see that it'll be a full 2 week break, winter break. There is not a calendar that's ever going to fit anything, and so. Want to honor the work of those that put it in and not disrespect their input.
Well, I guess, and just real quick, I mean, I certainly do appreciate the work of the committee to do this, but I think that this board has always been real hands-off when it comes to academic matters because we're not the subject matter experts on that. But this is, I have not heard one academic argument on either side of this, right? So if this seems like an issue that very much the board should get some input on, and hopefully that's in no way insulting to the committee. But this certainly seems, particularly since it's such a interplay of the community and the school district, that's kind of our job to decide that. So I don't really think we're outstepping our bounds to make suggestions and to, in fact, change this if the board so chooses to do that. I mean, that was my big point, is I didn't want the community to be insulted by that. There's nothing academic that I've heard yet. So, and frankly, what I hear is that we have a cultural sensitivity on one side and then that people have to go to summer camps on the other side. I mean, is that the two battling issues here?
I think
so.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I think that there's a food, nutrition, safety, wellness piece also that lies into that component. The academic side would be that I would oppose any start of a school year that would start out with a 5-day week. If we could, you know, there's ways to mitigate that.
Right.
But you ask our elementary folks, it would be pretty difficult to run in and start 5 days. Not saying it's impossible, but it's not best practice. And I would like, if it was to, as proposed, I want to respect our teachers and say that here's a 3-day opening. You know, get in, get your classes pulled together, and then you give our students a break for Friday or Saturday and Sunday, and then regroup and come back in the following week, or if it's even a 3-day weekend. That's an academic piece that really gets kids ready to engage. 5 days is a lot. Agree?
That was one thing the committee took into consideration was the
And
elementary needs.
the second understanding is that if we push it down, so starting earlier is rough. If we go extended, then we're looking at semester exams at the high school level. So I'm just speaking on one side. So the academic side and the semester exams is that we have students checking out for what Trustee Lake was talking about, and kids are leaving. And so we're trying to make up exams. It just gets to be a scheduling. We work a little harder, get it scheduled. Right. It's doable, but it's consideration. And I walked into the committee and I heard talk about semester exams, and I totally understand. I lived that life. And so Scott will have to, Mr. Wilson will have to reorganize his thoughts, and it might look a little different from what we've done in the past if we continue to go with 2 weeks. The 2 weeks at winter break is able to work. I can work that, and I will partner with our tribe if that's where we're at, and we'll provide. Mr. D and I had already visited about possibilities of nutrition program in the winter. We're not. The bottom line is that we need to do what we will do, and then we'll make it work. So we can. This is something that will come over and over and over again, and there's really not a win. And so the word comes to mind: compromise. What's the middle ground? And try it. And if it doesn't work, change next year.
And next year's gonna have to be 2 weeks anyway because of how Christmas is.
Yeah, maybe. You could do a 5-day Christmas if you want. Do whatever you want to, but I don't think anybody here wants to try it out.
We started that one for last year.
So, given all of the facts that Mr. Wells has just shared with us, and I take your point, Trustee McGinnis, it was very well said. Thank you. I would like everyone, all the trustees, to pull out the proposal that was put together with the 2 weeks, with ending on June 13th and starting with a partial week on the 29th as the first day. I think we ought to consider this. Let's see where we are. Is anybody willing to give me a motion?
Sure, I make a motion to go. I'm going to call it draft 4 because that's what it
says at the top. Okay.
So I make a motion that we approve draft 4 for the schedule for the 2018-19 year.
Do I have a second? No, because we don't have any other motions for it.
What's that?
She was asking procedure. Do we
Sorry,
have to
I was
go
just
this
like
way?
a
There was
little
no motion for it. So we have a motion on the floor first to accept draft number 4, which was what was in your packet. Do I have a second?
Can we have a copy? Can we see a copy of that?
Sure. So did you have a second? Sorry. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. I'm going to give it another minute as it gets passed around.
What is the number draft?
Number 4?
That the committee approved.
The one in here that says
Number 2.
Number 2.
It was the one in your packet.
That's the one I read.
Do you need a printout of it? I have a copy. Yeah, sure.
Mr. Watts, has somebody done to make sure there's the number of days we need? Because it looks like, if it's just moved 2 days, why do we have 4 extra days?
And get some.
Just kind of go back to the committee.
I'm good with
Oh.
the day.
My only concern is there are people waiting to start scheduling things. I was told that we need to make a decision sooner rather than later. How late can?
Martin Luther King Day, I think.
Because that would change our compromise for the committee.
I want to take a quick informal poll. We have a motion and a second, but there's the potential, we have a special board meeting coming up in the next 10 days or so. I want to know if delaying this to send this back to the committee, but we would be able to take action on this and potentially, like I said, in about 10 days or so, would that be adequate for those of you who are waiting to make, and the look on your face right now, Jesse is not a happy camper.
We'd be happy to meet if that's what the school board decides.
I'm wanting to know, do you want to have that opportunity to meet on this again, or would you like us to make a decision tonight because of timing, or do you want the opportunity to take another go at it?
I guess if taking another go at it means include a 2-week break,
yep,
you might as well vote.
So what is the current state of the current motions? Is it withdrawn?
The current, we have a motion and a second to pass draft number 4, which is a 2-week break.
Okay, so I call.
Can I?
Yes.
I don't know, I'm not on the committee, thank goodness. But is March 15th, I mean, we have that as a PIR day in both days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're talking about the academic part of it, I'm just going to throw out there that if you really truly want to have an academic part that meets the entire district, if we're going to do a PIR day, the best day to do it would be the Friday before Memorial Day. Because I will tell you right now that in the district, any given time, that Friday, you're going to have 30 plus subs in the building. You're going to have over 100 to 150 kids going in high school. And so if we're going to talk about academics, I did not throw that out ever.
No, this is the time to do it.
I'm just saying if we're going to talk about that, then a better day to do a PIR day, there are better dates maybe than the middle of March, unless somebody can tell me why that date was picked, that part. And I've been on that committee, and I'm just saying that if that's one of our considerations, there are probably better days in the springtime that we can take off that using as a PIR day that you're going to have less instructional part. The reason why that I did ask the committee to look at February 22nd as a day off was because this year, divisional basketball, the exact same thing. I believe we had 33 subs in the buildings during those days.
Okay. So what's the rationale for the 15th?
15th was chosen as we had one PIR day to put into the spring. There was no specific rationale other than
Other than March is long.
Get a PIR during the spring.
Yeah, you have a spring break a couple weeks. In a couple weeks from that day, you have a whole week off.
So no, the calendar committee was not. The 15th was just one of the days chosen in that long break. It doesn't have to be that day, but it seemed like as we are counting out the number of days, a spring PIR day would be good. March 15th was the day chosen.
Is there anything to say you have to have the spring PIR day? Could you put both your PIR days on the 3rd and the 4th? Just saying, I don't know if you already have people scheduled. Tell me you might already have people scheduled. I'm just saying, like the 3rd and 4th of January, boom, you get a 2-week vacation. Although kids are still, you're still looking at a 2-week thing. I'm just saying that, could you do PIR days in a row? Would that be useful or not? Don't know.
So Kristen, are you saying move January 21st PIR?
I'm saying January 21st and March 15th.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that. Again, I'm not attached to the calendar. I think every year it's different and people adjust, so whatever you decide.
I'm seeing nods and I don't know what they're attached to. I'm sorry,
Well, the one thing about January 21st, I'm sorry, January 21st is Martin Luther King Day, I believe, next year. And we did not have that off this year, and we took a little bit of a beating on that one. So.
I just need a little clarity. What's the significant reason for not starting school on Monday the 27th?
Little kiddos.
Little guys.
It's just to transition back with a shorter week is nicer for the majority of our students, actually.
Stamina.
School's starting. Let's go. I mean, I would rather start on Monday than have them go all the way.
I went to kindergarten in the 70s, man. No, we can, especially we need to like rescind it or send everything back or, okay, no, we need to figure this out. Okay. Shall we send this back to the, well, Jesse says we send it back to the committee requiring 2 weeks, it's not gonna happen. They will?
We'll work with whatever.
Okay.
We'll work with whatever parameters.
Okay, how do we do that with yes, please.
I'm happy to withdraw my motion.
Okay, the motion has been withdrawn.
Then I want to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the calendar that the committee put forward.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, guys. Any comments? Further discussion? All those in favor of passing the original calendar as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Okay. With that, we're sending it back to the committee. Okay. And we will be having a special meeting sometime in the next 10 days, so we will make this decision very soon for those of you who are waiting to schedule.
And can we have that deadline to just so we know when that next board meeting is, so we have to get our work done?
As soon as it's scheduled.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
For now, assume it's 10 days.
Can a visitor come to the meeting?
Yeah.
Sure. It's an open meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And again, for the record, thank you everybody for your patience. We all know that this is, calendar committee sounds like the most innocuous thing, and it is by far the most difficult committee I think any of us have ever participated in. And not because of the people involved, everybody's lovely, but the committee itself is difficult. So for all of you who have worked on it, we know it's hard, we know it takes a lot of work, and everybody's bringing something to the table, and we do appreciate it. We've got a few more things. Number 13. Oh, this is nice. This is good stuff. 13. Recommendation to approve rehire of administrators.
It is
That's a nice thing.
as submitted. I would recommend that we approve the list of administrators as submitted.
Okay. At this point, I would entertain, oh, does anybody have any questions? Okay. At this point, I would accept the recommendation to approve the list of administrators as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments? Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the list of administrators for rehire as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The list is approved. Okay, let's move on to number 14, recommendation to approve rehire of tenured certified staff. Mr. Elliott.
We're trying to get a jump start on bringing our staff back in, and we know right now that we're going to bring our tenured teachers back. So we would like to ask you to rehire our tenured teachers, and then as our budget picture becomes more clear, we'll be bringing our non-tenured teachers forward. So this isn't any indication that we're not bringing non-tenured teachers forward.
This is just kind of settle budget things that we know about.
Yeah, and we're a little early. We typically don't do this until April, so we are a little bit early with that, but we know that we're bringing our tenured teachers back. So we want to bring some uncertainty to closure.
Got it.
And so, but I do have a change in the list. Since we submitted this list, we had a retirement letter come in today, and I'm not sure how you want to handle it. If you want to rehire that teacher, and then during our personnel report next month, she will be on the retirement list, or if you want to strike her name today. But
when was the resignation effective?
It's effective at the end of the year.
When was the letter submitted and dated?
Today.
Let's strike the name from the list.
Okay, so then we need to strike Carol Lozar from our list.
So. Oh, okay. Okay, I see.
I think you're better off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. So we're not going to strike it. We are going to go with the recommendation of leaving it, rehire, and that way, for the purpose of the minutes, it will show the resignation. That way there's no, it doesn't look unclear to anybody if they go through and read the minutes and it looks hinky. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, so everybody clear?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions? All right. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the list for rehired tenured staff, certified staff, pardon me, as submitted.
I think it has to be separate for high school and elementary.
Yes, please.
My apologies, yes.
And there are two lists there.
Yes, it does say high school, yes. For the high school, let's start with that one. Second. We have a motion and a second to rehire the certified staff, tenured staff for the high school. Any comments? Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The high school certified tenured is rehired. Now let's look at the elementary district list. Are there any amendments or changes there, Mr. Elliott?
No, other than the one I mentioned.
Okay. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the elementary school district tenured certified staff list rehire as submitted.
So moved.
Motion second. Any comments? Discussion? All those in favor of approving the elementary district certified tenured staff rehire list signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The recommendation is passed. Okay, number 15, a recommendation to approve resolution for Senate Bill 307. Mr. Wells.
New item, second year, 307 is in lieu of the Quality Schools grant that was part of that boiler, if I want to remind you. It was the state's legislation, actually's recommendation to level the playing field for all school districts to receive some building reserve funds. Remember, permissive levies never had a line item of building reserve. It was always bus depreciation, transportation, adult ed, tuition, but building reserve was never in that. They added that line. So 307 comes with language, and when legislators approved that, there was a transparent piece to this, and that's where it needed to be promoted in our local newspapers. All of our valley superintendents got together with the Lake County superintendent. We're all going to broadcast. We're going to publish this resolution in one paper, one block, so it's all together. Opposed to last year, it was one paper, then the following paper, and the next. So this is an estimate. I want to make sure you're very clear. This is an estimate. This is the resolution that says that we are going to be able to, but those numbers aren't fixed yet. If you look, last year was about 11. We have about 11 mills that we asked for. Initially looking at right now, we may ask for 3. So it would be considerably down from last year. Again, estimates, and this, what I'm asking right now is just to approve the resolution that we have, 307. Any questions?
Okay. At this point, I would entertain a motion to, do I need to read this?
That's the
Okay.
school board
So
association.
I'm going to read the resolution and then I will ask for a motion. So this is recommending the consideration and adoption of this resolution, estimating the changes in revenue/mills from tuition, adult education, building reserve, transportation, and bus depreciation levies for the school year 2018-2019.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? Again, it's an estimate and it's much lower than last year. Any further discussion from the board? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it is passed. Moving on, recommendation to approve leave of absence request. Mr. Elliott.
So we had a tenured teacher request a leave of absence for the 2018-19 school year pursuant to the general leave of absence provision in their collective bargaining agreement. And so she asked for it, I'm presenting it, and asking you to approve it. I don't have a recommendation. It's there for you to consider.
Okay. Any questions, trustees?
I move we approve the year-long absence request.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments? Yes.
So what does that mean for when she comes back in a year?
I was waiting for that question.
We should know that.
The provision is this, is that it guarantees a position. It doesn't guarantee a spot. So somewhere within the organization, at her certification level, at that person's certification level, it guarantees that position. A position.
A position, not the current position.
Correct.
And one other provision, it does allow us as a district to hire a teacher for basically 1 year, holding that position for her. So we let the individual, if we do rehire somebody to replace her next year, that it may be a 1-year gig.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. Are we ready to take a vote? All those in favor of approving the request for leave of absence signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The leave of absence is approved. And that brings us to the personnel report. Anything we need to be aware of, Mr. Elliott?
No, it's just our ordinary personnel report. We do have one for each district, so I'd ask that you approve what's been submitted.
Okay, let's take the high school district report first. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the high school district personnel report.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Discussion? All those in favor of approving the high school district personnel report as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is passed. Now taking up the issue of the personnel report for the elementary school district, I would entertain a motion to accept it as written.
May I intervene quickly?
Yes.
I would ask that, just like, rescind her.
Just she's on that list.
She's on that list, and so, if we could have her not be in this technicality, that it's.
I wasn't. Hi. Oh, there, I was still looking at the other one. I went, what am I missing? Okay, next page. All right.
The volunteers.
Yeah, I hadn't made it to the second page yet. Thank you. Okay, so we are on the elementary school district report. Did we have a?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the personnel report for the elementary school district signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Excuse me. It is passed. Pardon me, all right, that leaves us with item number 18, recommendation to approve the out of district, and there isn't one. We just had a placeholder, which means with no further business before this board, is that correct? Correct. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
So 3 guys.
It's all right. When's the seating
That's a long question. It's just like, I'm like, okay. I didn't know, I guess I didn't know. Excuse me,